right, perfect right there. Can wait for it to come live. My internet's been wonky today. It's supposed to pop in live right there on the screen. But it's not doing that. You know what? We're going to assume we're on the air right now. Just pretend.
All right. Hey,
All right.
What a time to be alive.
Everybody, welcome back to RVAsec 2022. Our next guest, what's your name, sir?
My name is Nick Popovich.
And you don't have a company per se, but we can find you on LinkedIn. Very
Yep,
easily.
yep.
We got the link right here down below the graphics.
You know, I'm an independent security researcher focused on cybersecurity. I'm also the hacker in residence for a company called PlexTrack, and I do a lot of voodoo that I do.
All right, cool. Now, you gave a lecture here today.
I'm going to be. I'm actually
okay.
speaking, at 4 o'clock.
Tell me what it's about.
So we're talking about, the title of the talk is Warning. This message originated outside of your organization. The idea is going to be talking about the tried and true method of phishing with a novel take. In this case, we're going to be talking about abusing the trust people have in services. A lot of SaaS services allow you to send emails and utilize their resources to hide your origin and be able to send emails. And so we're going to talk about how to how attackers use those, and then have a working discussion on what thoughts are for the organizations to detect, defend, and maybe educate users on how to recognize those types of attacks.
I don't like to open those emails. I don't know what the hell they mean.
Right? And you get them every day.
And they're trying
some are legit, some aren't.
It's supposed to make you feel safe, but you're saying it's the opposite because they're spinning it around saying, it came from outside, but that's okay because we're using this internal.
Exactly.
Oh my God, how
For
confusing.
30 years, we've trained users that if it's an email from outside your organization with a link in it that's telling you to do something, that's probably phishing.
Right.
And then we send them a dozen a week.
Oh my God. Well, then I just heard today a new phrase, which isn't new to you, but vishing with a V.
Yeah,
I said,
phishing.
first I had phishing, spear phishing, vishing. I mean,
SMS, we got smishing, sending text messages.
smishing, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I get those like crazy now.
All the time.
And I haven't been fooled yet, but almost. And I'm pretty sophisticated. I don't
Right.
open anything, but eventually I'm going to get whacked.
You're gonna get got. You're gonna get, if it's you, if it's not you, it's somebody in your family. It's gonna get got for
Yeah,
you.
it's too bad. Now, I got a couple of questions here.
Yeah, absolutely.
For you here. Look at that. So all the security. Look at it closed. Didn't I just have them up here a minute ago? There it is. All right. What are some of the approaches you're seeing that are proving to be successful regarding the offensive security and testing? I love this term. I know it's not new, but it's kind of new. If you look at cybersecurity, it's 30 years, it's 3,000 years, and this is new, okay? Because I've always said, as a former physical security guy and police officer, why don't you just go after them? Instead of waiting here defending yourself and building a moat all the time, let's take the fight to those guys. And we're starting to think that way, aren't we?
Well, you know, I think that there's there's the idea of offensive security in governments and nation states doing the super clandestine secret squirrel stuff that they're doing.
Right.
You know, the offensive security testing is really the best way to test the effectiveness and efficacy of all the security controls that you've spent your money on.
Right.
Is attacking them as an attacker would with utilizing skills and
Right.
techniques and procedures that they would. So the offensive security testing really, I think, is a good term to bring in the idea of your red teaming, pen testing, vulnerability assessments, purple teaming activity. And so there's a lot of trends that are showing up. And I think the idea, some of the new techniques is moving away from focused on the simply attacking on premises and those defenses, because the perimeter, I think, is disappearing.
Yes,
right? And so
there's no perimeter.
there really is no perimeter.
Right.
So the techniques that I'm seeing very successful that are also providing value to organizations is focusing on identity and access management and the cloud native environments and API endpoint testing. So testing, the traditional testing still needs to happen, don't hear me wrong, but I think we need to evolve into testing the identity and access management, because that IDA&M in the cloud and in your applications becomes the keys to the kingdom. Think about the latest breaches that are happening. It's not these sophisticated zero-day leet things.
No, that's true.
It's passwords.
Yeah.
Somebody got a password, got in, and shut down a pipeline.
I know. Oh my God. Another thing I heard about offensive security today was about tokens,
Tokens,
dropping
tokenization.
fake things. So the bad guys in there saying, "Oh,
Yeah,
look,
honey tokens or so deception technology is actually
honeypot kind of concept."
Yeah, but it's more pervasive now, and the idea of the deception technology, placing accounts or files or different things that look a little too good to be true, but maybe passwords.xls on a share drive that if any of those passwords are used, it makes special alerts so that canary tokens basically. So you can tell if attackers are in your environment doing things. That's a very valuable tool that organizations could use.
Is it fairly new or newer?
I think it's catching more volume over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
There's definitely more folks who are interested in the deception tech. I think folks have stayed away from it because they're so busy just getting the basic stuff buttoned up.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's true. All right. So, what are some of the challenges you're noticing regarding the vulnerability assessments and red team activity? Are people saying, let's do this more often, or are they saying, what's
I
the
think
trend?
some of the problems are still affecting us that were affecting us in 2010, and that's first and foremost organizations not being fully aware of what they have, asset inventory, asset management,
yeah.
not knowing what to test.
Right.
And then the idea of testing rather than security for the sake of security, but security simply to check a box, in that when you're testing, you're limited so much by the scope of the assessment that it's not providing as much value, maybe only testing QA environments instead of production, so that the findings that you'll find in a production environment are real to life, whereas the data may not be the same. And there's nuances to that testing, but I think asset inventory and being handcuffed by the scope is a big problem.
So what advice would you give to people that are interested in exploring this field of offensive security, and help my small Security Guy TV brain get this? Offensive security is not exactly the same as red team, blue team.
I think it is. I think
is it ramped up, or what is it?
The idea, when you think of offensive security, it's really just that so in the military, you have red team, that's Op 4, that's the opposing force. In war games, you have blue team, which is not the opposing force, the team that you're on.
Yeah.
And so that whole idea of using an attacker's perspective to simulate adversarial activity, or offensive, so someone in attack. So I think offensive security is everything that is attack emulation, attack simulation. There's tool suites now, breach and attack simulation, BAS software that tries to automate some of that. I think those are fantastic tools for practitioners' belts. But folks who want to get into this, really need to learn as much as they can from as many sources as they can about the mechanics of technology, and then thinking of ways to be able to test them effectively. The perfect example is if you set up a firewall and you're monitoring the logs. That's more of a blue team thing, right? You're monitoring logs. Yeah. That's defense. Offense would be using tools to scan and poke and prod to find holes in that firewall. So I think there's a lot of resources out there. There's a lot of interesting, some of them, many are free. You've got your Hack the Boxes, you've got the Cyber Mentors, you've got low-cost things out there that really give you insight into the technology ecosystem, but don't lose sight of the fact that you really should spend some time. I'm not gatekeeping saying you got to spend 10 years as a Unix administrator before you can come in here. That's not what I'm saying. Right. But I think people get focused so much on the job titles and the tooling, and they forget that this is a technologist's field. Right. And you need to really expose yourself to as much of technology as you can and constantly be learning. And coming to events and getting involved with communities like this RVAsec event. In your local area, there's probably a local meetup or a group or event that you can get involved with.
My son's got a math degree, and he's a young kid, and he fiddled around for a couple years, and I said, get into cybersecurity. I don't know if I'd like it. Now he's got a big job at Intel.
Boom,
he loves it. Right. And they grabbed him and they trained him. He didn't have to do a thing.
Exactly.
And they taught him.
If you have the passion, you'll make
it's about
the
passion.
grade.
Now, I always ask these questions, and then I regret asking them because then somebody does it 2 years later. If I was a bad guy, and I might be technically wrong about this, if I was a bad hacker, I would want to learn and gain access to every defense software program on your network and flip them around and use them against you. Am I wrong about that,
no.
technically?
Well, you also just described the role of a security researcher. So
all right.
Security researchers are going to do the exact same thing, and hopefully companies have product security researchers. That's a newer type of team. You've got your network cert, you've got your application cert. Now you're having product certs, incident response teams, and folks who are designed around products that organizations sell and ripping them apart. Their whole job is to come in, reverse engineer them, find the holes before the bad folks do.
They got some slick products out here.
They do.
Like genius stuff, right? And I'm thinking, wow, if I was evil and invented that, I'd own the whole kingdom.
I imagine that there are a number of shell organizations that come in and just buy things to reverse engineer to find flaws. Yeah. And so that's why it's important that those organizations and independent researchers, like through bug bounty programs, through independent full disclosure processes, to be able to go in, pick apart apps, and that's the research ecosystem, and that's why it makes sense to reward or award for security research versus prosecute and send cease and desist.
All right, excellent. We're going to get you off to your lecture.
Excellent.
One last question. Are we doomed yet?
Not doomed.
Not yet.
Not doomed.
All right,
Just be happy.
All right. Back in here at RVAsec 2022. Thanks, my friend.
Thank you.
All right, good.